The Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf. Tekkanen set the Churchill Downs course record, winning this $3 million race in 1994.
So it is the $3 million Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf. And Serafina is the favorite at 2-1. And as you see Serafina there, a Breeders' Cup Challenge, winning your in horse with Christophe Lemaire as the jock. This is the second richest race in North America.
A race that is typically dominated by the Europeans. As you see Sea Moon there, along with Midday and Wait to Dawn, all Europeans. This year looks like it will be no exception, because on paper, the European horses tower over a rather weak American turf division.
I predict they will go 1, 2, 3, 4 in this race.
And maybe 5.
Yes.
And there is Serafina.
She's
been racing extensively in France.
She rattled off 4 victories in a row this year before being beaten in the Arc de Triomphe, but she had a bad trip there. She was drawn very wide. In Europe, horses like to be tucked in in the crowd so that they relax, and she was out there all by herself and pretty rank all the way, and still she only got beat 6.5 lengths, and the winner won by 5, so it was a pretty good effort.
The 7-horse Sea Moon is owned by Juddmonte Farms, trained by Sir Michael Stout. Last time out, finished 3rd in a race called the St. Leger at Doncaster in England, in which he got into a world of trouble. You can go on YouTube actually and watch the video for yourself if you want to. This horse was just buried throughout the lane, had no chance to get out. Before that, 3 very impressive victories in succession, so I think he's got an excellent shot at it.
This is a made-for-TV production day of weather here, as you can even see the glimpse of a sparkle of the sun coming into your lens there as we look at Sea Moon. But not the case, Jay Privman, 2 days ago, when rain caused a bit of frustration for some of the European trainers, as is the case with Sea Moon.
That's right, including Sea Moon. Michael Stout was very upset that morning because they closed the grass course and didn't allow the European horses to train on it at 9:30. And there was a pretty good kerfuffle that went on among some track management at Churchill Downs and the trainers who were trying to open the gate to get on the course and whatnot. Now, this is the 2nd year in a row that there's been some controversy with Michael Stout. Last year, what happened was he wanted to run workforce, but he wasn't happy with the ground because it was too hard. This year, Churchill Downs was trying to protect the course the other day, didn't let the trainers on to work Sea Moon, but it went over much more poorly in Europe. The Daily Mail said this was a tense standoff which did little to advance Anglo-American relations. Joe?
What is this, 1776? So such was the case the other day on Thursday.
I talked to Sir Michael Stout. I won the World Cup for him in 1997. And he's a very nice man, and he had kind of calmed down a little bit the following morning, and he said, listen, I have to make an adjustment. He was going to work him 6 furlongs, now he worked him 4 furlongs, so he said it's not ideal, but it shouldn't affect him to a great deal.
Not many people in England are going to tell someone whose name begins with a Sir that they can't work their horses when they want to. He's not accustomed to that.
Let's go to Sir Kenny Mayne. Kenny, listen, I'm struggling a bit today, but let me just throw this out there in terms of where you may be gambling. 5 times today, the number 8 has won. Any love for Brilliant Speed?
There's no problem with betting numbers once in a while, but fortunately we haven't had to out here. I've been dealing with government officials from the last pick 4, and this is the start of a new pick 4. Can we have a moment of silence that crazy man John McCrick is not with us today?
Yeah, he's
still alive.
When he's here, you have a moment of silence.
Like 15 minutes of silence. He likes to come out and brag about his Euro Turf horses. You guys have already done that. I mean, it really makes a lot of sense. The one I think stands out is the 3-year-old Sea Moon. It just hasn't had too many starts, but it's so fresh. The numbers are solid. And you can pick any one of them and do well here.
Well, he had won 3 races in a row, and then in his last start, he's a beaten favorite. But he had a lot of trouble in that race, and he now takes on older horses for the first time. But I can tell you this about Sir Michael Stout. He doesn't make a trip like this for nothing. And I think that's a big factor. And, of course, he gets the beloved Lasix for the first time, that being the anticoagulant. And I like his chances very much. A Wait to Dawn and Midday, another one taking on the males, and they say she has never been better. That's my exacta box, but I'm going to put some money on Sea Moon, $50 to win.
And Hank and I, by the way, Joe, we walked the course several times. That's why we look so fit today.
You do look good. I'm happy to hear you had a signer there, Kenny. Sea Moon is 7-2. Hammer likes Sea Moon. St. Nicholas Abbey is the #1, trained by Aidan O'Brien, who had the win in the juvenile turf earlier today with Rote. The jockey for St. Nicholas Abbey will be Aidan O'Brien's son, Joseph. His 18-year-old son, Joseph. And moments ago, Jerry caught up with him.
Joseph, you ride St. Nicholas Abbey in the Breeders' Cup turf here, but this is your first time riding a Breeders' Cup race. First of all, how have you found America since you've gotten here?
Yeah, obviously it's very different, I suppose. The track work in the morning and between everything, it's very different, but I'm enjoying him. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, well, you've got such a famous father over there, Aidan O'Brien. How is it riding for your dad? I know I rode for a lot of trainers that I was just friends with, and sometimes it's difficult, but so how is it riding for not only such a famous guy, but your dad?
Obviously there's pressure and there's plenty of different things, but I suppose when you can just do your best and try and get the horses to run as well as possible, that's all you can do.
Well, word is you're one of the sharpest guys around the barn. You know it. In fact, maybe you prompt some of the training. How do you see the race setting up, and how do you assess your chances on St. Nicholas Abbey?
I think he's a good chance as any. He handles good ground. Hopefully, think it's dried out a bit since yesterday, so that'll be in his favour. I'm not sure if there's a whole lot of pace in it, but I'll let him leave the stalls and see what happens after that. Okay,
well, Joseph, I was kind of tall for a jockey over here, and you're fairly tall. You're a growing young man. How long do you plan to stay as a rider?
I'll ride as long as I can, as long as my weight stays in and around the 9 stone mark. I'll see how it goes from there. Obviously, I'm not going to kill myself to ride horses every day, but I'll do my best to keep it under control.
All right, well, you're a brilliant young man. Thanks for joining us, and good luck in the turf.
Thanks very much, Jerry.
What a nice young man Joseph O'Brien is. Although, Randy, I think you and I may have pari-mutuel tickets in our wallet older than Joseph O'Brien. Taking a look at him there.
If he wins, he'll be the youngest jockey in Breeders' Cup history to win a race. He referenced 9 stone in American weight. That's 126 pounds, and he's 5'11". He's quite tall.
Yeah, you'll see as he comes out, he's almost 6 feet tall. So yeah, he might go to the jumps, which you can be taller and heavier, but yeah, I think ultimately he'll be a trainer.
Let's bring in our European racing expert, Nick Luck. Nick, I don't know if someday you're going to have young Clementine Florence Marguerite Luck up in the irons, but there's Joseph O'Brien ready to go.
Joseph O'Brien, Joe, is a young man of cool temperament and real assurance in the saddle, and has earned rave reviews from some of his senior colleagues in England in recent days for his rides on Roderick O'Connor in the Irish Guineas, that was a classic, and on Camelot in the Racing Post Trophy at Group 1 on a 2-year-old. And I think what is underappreciated is the integral part he is now playing in the training of these horses, helping his father decide who rides which horse in the morning, chalking up the worksheet and reporting on all the important Group 1 high-quality bloodstock that Ballydoyle houses. This is a man that is to be trusted on a Group or Grade 1 horse. Look how tall this jockey is. He is 5'11" and growing all the time. He may not have too many more chances because his weight is getting the better of him.
Yeah, by the next Breeders' Cup, he may be looking like an American basketball player.
If he rode in the United States, he couldn't ride. 126 pounds, he'd be out of the business, but the weights are higher for racing in Europe.
So, the Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf and the father-son combination of the O'Briens is coming up next.
Last year, in a performance that defined the thoroughbred, the great mare Goldakova, losing ground on the turn for home in the turf mile, dug down for all she had at Churchill Downs and swept to an unprecedented 3rd straight Breeders' Cup victory.
Goldakova, a true champion!
It was an historic day here last year, ending with Zenyatta's heroic but failed charge to catch Blame in the Classic. And it came in a setting made for moments such as these.
Zenyatta ran her heart out!
In the twin-spired shadows, thrown across a track where the making of history has forever been as natural as the mixing of a mint julep. Churchill was where Triple Crown champions began their hunt for immortality. From War Admiral to Count Fleet to Secretariat. Lying on the western outskirts of the Bluegrass, it grew naturally into a major venue for the Breeders' Cup, where undefeated Personal Ensign ran down winning colors to take the distaff in '88, where Arazi came flying around the final bend to take the Juvenile of '91, and where now Goldakova seeks to make history never before made with a 4th consecutive Breeders' Cup triumph.
Beautiful day here in Louisville as we work our way towards the Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf, a $3 million race, a bigger purse than any of the Triple Crown races, second only to the $5 million Classic that we will see later today. Serafina is the favorite at 2-1, ridden by Christophe Lemaire. Seamoon, who the Hammer likes, Hank Goldberg likes Seamoon, 3-1.
5 Europeans in the field. They are the top 5 betting choices right now.
There is Aidan O'Brien giving the final instructions to both Julien Leperoux on the right and his son, the 5'11" Joseph O'Brien, on the left. Nick.
Joined by Lord Teddy Grimthorpe, racing manager to Prince Khaled Abdallah, who has 2 runners, Seamoon and Midday, who herself won the Filly and Mare Turf 2 years ago. Teddy, first Midday, why against the boys this year?
Henry was absolutely adamant that this was the race for her.
Is this the Henry Cecil, the trainer?
Yeah, the Henry Cecil, the trainer, was very adamant. We discussed it and he said he really wanted to go with the turf. She didn't have a very satisfactory time here last year in the Filly and Mare Turf, bit of slow pace, bumped around, but so he wanted to give her the chance. We know she's won 2 Grade 1s over 1.5 miles, so we know she stays. So he was very keen to come to this race.
Why is Seamoon here? He's pretty inexperienced. Do you think he can repeat his York triumph earlier in the season?
He's certainly going to have to step up to. That was a Grade 2. Didn't have the greatest run of the race in the St. Leger, but he's got to be progressive. He's stepping up now.
Teddy, thank you very much indeed. Teddy Grimthorpe. Joe?
Thank you, Nick, as the jocks have taken a leg up, and now the call to the post. Twin Spires overlooking that 1.5 miles that they'll be running on the grass. Post parade for the turf is brought to you by Equibase, the Thoroughbred Industries official database for racing and wagering information. There is St. Nicholas Abbey. We heard from Joseph O'Brien, 18 years old. St. Nicholas Abbey won the Group 1 Coronation Cup at Ascot.
Next is your favorite, number 2, Serafina, owned by the 74-year-old His Highness the Aga Khan, the spiritual leader of a branch of Shiite Muslims, trained by Alain de Royer Dupré, who won the inaugural Breeders' Cup Mile way back in 1984 with Lashkari. Acting up just a little bit, these Europeans usually go to post without a pony. This one looks like she may not be agreeing with the fact that the pony is so close to her right now.
Being led out to the track by the groom there. That is your favorite. And now they're just going to let her go off, Jerry. What do you make of it?
Oh, she looks awesome. I mean, this is the way they normally do it in Europe, so she's spot on right now.
Yeah. Who needs the post parade? Let's get ready to try to go out there and conquer a $3 million Breeders' Cup race. So Serafina is 2-1. Meanwhile, good old American behaving himself is Dean's Kitten, the 4-year-old. Ramsey Homebred, Mike Maker sends him out after running second in the Turf Classic behind Cape Blanco.
And he had the Equibase cue because they don't give speed figures to Europeans. The 4 is Stately Victor, ridden by Mike Smith, a horse who competed in the Kentucky Derby in 2010. He's now been transformed into a turf horse, but he hasn't won a race since September of 2010.
5 is Teeks North, 2-time Grade 1 winner, won the United Nations at Monmouth, also won the Gulfstream Park Turf Handicap, loves the Jersey Shore, 5 for 5 at Monmouth's turf.
6, Await the Dawn. This is the one that Julien Leperoux rides for Aidan O'Brien, a horse that was very highly regarded this summer. Got so sick he nearly died over the summer, but He's now back in good health, although his training may have been a bit compromised.
7 is Sea Moon. This is the Hammers pick. Sir Michael Stout was the trainer of Conduit, who took this turf back in 08 and 09. That was when the Breeders' Cup was at Santa Anita. Juddmonte Farms looking for their first win after 12 tries in this race.
Mentioned Stately Victor ran in last year's Kentucky Derby. The 8 Brilliant Speed finished 7th in this year's Derby, and he too, because of his pedigree, has been moved to the grass, where he was a first and second place finisher in his last 2 starts in graded stakes.
And there is Midday, Juddmonte's other runner. She's the 5-year-old mare who won the filly and mare turf back in 2009. This is her 3rd straight race against males. She did win the Nassau Stakes at Goodwood this year. We have 2 gals in this race going up against 7 boys, including the 4-year-old filly Serafina, the favorite at 2-1, Janine.
That's right, Joe. And you know, the headline in Australia was, he came, he rode, he conquered. That was Christophe Lemaire, the jockey. He won Australia's Melbourne Cup on Tuesday in a last-minute ride that he picked up a horse named Dunedin. Now, the horse's owner flew Lemaire in from Asia on short notice, and he and Dunedin won an epic edition of the race, a 2-mile race, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and it was decided by a whisker, less than a whisker. That's him on the inside. The ride was being hailed as brilliant by the Australian media, and by the next afternoon, Lemaire was gone on his way here to Kentucky to ride in the Breeders' Cup, where he hopes to come, ride, and conquer again.
What a week this would be for Lemaire, taking down the Melbourne Cup and now getting after the Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup turf. One of the big ones every year at the Breeders' Cup, $3 million purse. The Euros are ready. Can Serafina beat the boys? Tina is maintaining her position at 2-1. We have 2 female horses in here, the filly Serafina, the 5-year-old mare Midday, who's had Breeders' Cup success before. But Jerry, I want to focus in on the horse that Hank Goldberg picked, the 7 Sea Moon. And you know, we see this often with the Europeans who aren't used to having the lead ponies around them. But what's going on here?
No, he's just feeling good. It's a cool day. Horses like cool weather rather than hot weather, so he's just feeling his oats, so to speak.
When that lead pony came near him, he wanted no part of him at all.
They're not trained when lead ponies over there, so they're not used to being around. They're not used to having somebody reach out for them from a pony. So no, it's normal for him to be a little skittish. He's carrying this a little bit too far, maybe, but
he's firing.
He's feeling good.
Let's get some observations from our on horseback reporter, Kaiten Bradar.
Well, Joe, all is calm at the moment, but Sea Moon was giving Ryan Moore all he could handle, bucking and carrying on. And he also, in addition to reacting to the pony, seemed to be reacting to the crowd that's gathered on the backstretch. The more he bucked, the more the people on the backstretch kind of hollered and hooped, and that seemed to spur him on. But since he's gotten next to the outrider, he's calmed down considerably, and the crowd has quieted down. Now, Midday is backing up and balking and kind of reacting a bit as well. 2 ponies now surrounding her, and Serafina also had some issues when she first got down. Joe?
You can see that crowd that is gathered there on the backside up against the rail at the backstretch. Last year we had over 114,000 fans attending the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup. Another good crowd has come out.
Quick formulator fact, Aidan O'Brien has had some recent success in the United States, 5 for his last 10. Before that, he'd been in a slump over here. He got 2 in this race. We'll see how they run. For more formulator, log on to drf.com.
Remember Aidan O'Brien sending out his 18-year-old son Joseph as the jockey in St. Nicholas Abbey, the 1.
One thing we do want to look for, the filly that just went in the gate, Serafina with the green silk, she can be aggressive early in the race. She can give her jockey fit. So if you see her start throwing up her head and fighting a rider, she's not settling well. There won't be a lot of pace in here. So it could be possible, but the pace will probably come from number 1, St. Nicholas Abbey, and number 3, Dean's Kitten.
We saw Serafina all excited out of the post parade, but she did calm down quite a bit as the horses were approaching the gate.
There's Mike Smith on the Kentucky-bred Stately Victor, the number 4. Mike Smith, just a Breeders' Cup win away in his illustrious career from tying our Hall of Famer Jerry Bailey.
Good luck with this one. 31-1 is the longest shot on the board.
Brilliant Speed finished 3rd in the Belmont Stakes at 1.5 miles this year. He's since gone on to the Jamaica and ran 2nd on the grass. So he's got grass for him. He's got distance for him.
And there is Midday.
These Euros are pretty tough.
Let's go back to Kaiten. Kaiten.
They're having quite a few problems with Midday. Thomas Quealy actually asking the outriders if he could possibly get off of her. They told him no, and now the outrider has taken her, has a lead rope on her, and is literally leading her and jogging her up to the starting gate, but she's still a little ways off, Joe.
What do you make of it, Jerry?
Well, the reason that he can't get off is all horses are required to carry their weight from the time the jockeys are put on until they leave the gate. So that's by rule that she can't do that. The reason he wanted to get off is a lot of times once you dismount, the horse will relax. They'll go wherever you want them to a lot easier, especially inside the gate.
She's seen this before. She was here last year, as we've mentioned, the last couple of years to America. So she is she's experienced American-style racing, but something has just got her a little bit bothered right now.
This Midday at 5-1, and let's see how the mare goes into the gate. Here's Trevor Denman with the call.
All set now for the Emirates Airline Turf. Field sent on their 1.5 mile journey. Quickest into stride is Dean's Kitten along the inside, but they're all lining up for the lead here. There goes Await the Dawn now, and Await the Dawn is the new leader. On the far side, Midday in the pink cap is going up and joined second. Brilliant Speed and Teeks North are in there as well. Here's St. Nicholas Abbey down at the rail. Now they're slowing it right down up front. St. Nicholas Abbey just 2.5 off them. Then back to the filly Serafina. She's pretty keen to go on. She's taken a strong hold in the green colours. Only 4.5 off the leaders. No pace on up there at all. Stately Victor is taken back to be second last, and that'll leave Sea Moon as the trailer. 8 lengths would cover the lot. So they come to the stop of the stretch, first time round in the Emirates Airline Turf. And out on the lead is Await the Dawn, in front by just over a length. Dean's Kitten is tracking from second. Midday in the pink cap moving up alongside of that. On the outside we have Brilliant Speed in the red cap. Only 2 lengths separates these first 4. Dean's Kitten now going to turn the pressure on a little. St. Nicholas Abbey's in a perfect spot in 5th, just 3 lengths off the leaders. Serafina a little more relaxed, but still pretty keen to go on in the green. She's no more than 3.5 off the leader. Teeks North is scraping the rail on the inside. They've been followed then by Sea Moon, who's second last, and Stately Victor trails. 6 lengths would cover the lot. Onto the backstretch they go, and it is still Await the Dawn, and Julian Laperoux just in front now as Dean's Kitten is putting a little pressure on them. On the far side we have Brilliant Speed in 3rd. Inside of that comes Midday just loping along in 4th. Now Serafina in the green between runners, 2 lengths off the leaders. Then it's St. Nicholas Abbey. On the inside, Tweaks North. On the far side of those two comes Sea Moon, only 3.5 off the leaders, and still the trailer Stately Victor. They're going to have to turn this one into a sprint for home now. It is still Await the Dawn, the leader. Let's see who's the first to make a move. Here comes Brilliant Speed now. Brilliant Speed on the outside. Dean's Kitten between them. Serafina's traveling nicely right behind them, and Sea Moon crying out for who? Sea Moon hooks to the grandstand side with a white face. Here comes Sea Moon now, but got first runners Brilliant Speed. Brilliant Speed down the centre. St. Nicholas Abbey with a late run. Serafina could not quicken with him, is trying to come on late, but it's St. Nicholas Abbey. St. Nicholas Abbey, history in the making. St. Nicholas Abbey, Joey O'Brien for his father, Aidan O'Brien. History is made. St. Nicholas Abbey wins. Second will be Sea Moon, third will be Brilliant Speed, and Serafina had to settle for 4th on the afternoon.
It's Father's Day at the Breeders' Cup. Can you believe that? 18-year-old Joseph O'Brien given the mount by his father, Aidan O'Brien, the world-class trainer, and he delivers him a Breeders' Cup championship. Janine is standing by with the proud dad.
And congratulations all around, Aidan. Plenty of big wins for you, but this one's got to feel a little bit different. What's this moment like for you, having your son on board?
Very, very special, very special. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
This is multitasking here, guys. He's texting and talking at the same time. Yeah. What do you think of your boy's ride?
No, wonderful ride. Incredible. What can I say? He's amazing rider.
What are you texting right now?
I'm just going to ring my mum. So just going to say well done to her. So brilliant, yeah.
That's more important.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to the whole family. Well done.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you.
18 years old. Dad says, we're going over to the USA. I'm going to put you on St. Nicholas Abbey in a $3 million Breeders' Cup turf, and he delivers.
When Fernando Jara won the Breeders' Cup Classic on Invasor in 2006, he was 18 years, 321 days old. Joey is 18 years, 161 days old.
Jay Privman.
And I'm with Aidan O'Brien's wife, Joseph O'Brien's mother. Congratulations, you're crying. What kind of a moment for you?
Oh my God, it's incredible. I'm so excited. He gave it a super ride, and the race worked out really well for him, so it's wonderful. So it's fantastic.
How nerve-wracking is it for you to watch your 18-year-old son compete in something like this?
My heart was going 100 miles an hour. I could hardly stand up. I was so nervous. Thank God it worked out so well, and it's just fantastic to be here and have the opportunity to run in such great races. So we're really pleased to be here, and thank God it worked out so well.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Family celebration.
Joe, I can't tell you how much pressure's on a young man. I mean, I couldn't handle this pressure till I had ridden at least 10 years. He's ridden less than a year, or a little over a year rather. And the coolness, I mean, the subtle things that you don't know is what he did leaving the gate. But let's pick it up as he's tucked in it before they turn for home. He's got a perfect trip, 6 or 7 lengths off the lead, saving ground, not dead on the rail, but still saving ground, leaving himself a way out. So what does he do? He deftly goes over heels, angles the horse to the outside. The race is pretty much won from here. The horse is going to take it from here with his encouragement. It's the subtle things before that he did to win the race. Leaving the gate, asking for a little bit of run in order to create some more speed in the race, and then easily taking back and putting himself in a position midway through the race that set all of this up. So
and
let's
now
talk
coming to the set is St. Nicholas Abbey with Joseph O'Brien at 18 years old. Congratulations, Joseph. You are the youngest jockey to ever win a Breeders' Cup race. How's it feel?
It's a dream come true.
Joseph, did you feel any butterflies going around there once you're in the rhythm of the race?
I was very happy with my position. My horse is moving very well and going easy, and he picked up where it matters.
Did you worry? I mean, there's a cluster of horses in front of you, not a great pace, but a decent pace. Did you wonder if you were going to find room?
They went a nice pace. I suppose I had to be patient and wait for the gaps to come, and when I got out at the bottom of the straight, he picked up very good.
All right, what's it feel like winning for your dad?
It's, I've been coming to the Breeders' Cup since I was very small. I was watching the races, and to be actually riding here and to ride the winners, it's out of this world.
Go give him a hug.
Congratulations, Joseph.
He's still texting.
He is, probably.
This is going to be quite an embrace of father and son back in the winner's circle. Aidan O'Brien, just a world-class trainer.
Nick Luck had made a point, just talking privately with us earlier, though, that Aidan has been very careful not to heap very much praise on his son in the media in England. He doesn't want to be seen as maybe pushing the envelope and putting his son on horses that maybe he wouldn't belong to be on.
Very early in the week, one of our reactions, we were talking about, Jerry, you and I were talking about it, saying, it could have the perception of like a little league dad sending his son out there to pitch day after day. Joseph is quite accomplished, and he was obviously capable of making this moment right here
Check
happen.
that out.
Well, I mean, these are $1 million horses that his father's putting him on, and he's an astute man, is Aidan O'Brien, so he's not going to compromise the chances of his owner's horses. So he knew that his son was up to the task. The shame here is this kid won't stay small enough to be riding these kind of races much longer.
He'll be lucky to get another year.
Yeah, he will. In my opinion, he will be a very good trainer coming up under his father and the foundation that he has already. But I believe, as I said earlier, that he probably goes to the jumps, which is not popular here, but it's very popular in the UK, and he'll be pretty dominant in that.
A 5'11", 126-pound, carrying. His jockey career is going to come to an end, but it will always include this. A Breeders' Cup championship for Dad. 18 years old. There is Aidan O'Brien, the trainer. Special moment. St. Nicholas Abbey, the winner of the turf.
You mentioned the astuteness of Aidan O'Brien and how he wouldn't put his son on horses that he didn't really deserve to be on. Well, same with the owners. Derek Smith, John Magner, Michael Tabor, the Coolmore operation, especially John Magner. There's no way with the value of their horses that they would ever trust them in a major race, much less a Breeders' Cup race, unless they had the utmost confidence in the jockey. So they've seen a lot in this kid, clearly.
Sire stands at 3 Chimneys. And the reception as they enter the winner's circle. St. Nicholas Abbey and the young Joseph Patrick O'Brien. The prices of the Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf. The favorite, Serafina, was unable to accomplish the task. It goes 1-7-8. St. Nicholas Abbey on top of Sea Moon, bringing back a $76.20 exacta. The trifecta went for over 1,200.
3 cheers to the American, Brilliant Speed, who ran a heck of a race in here against these tough Europeans and looked for a point early in the stretch like he'd have a shot to win it.
Just the beginning of what should be an amazing series of races as we get deeper into the afternoon here at Churchill Downs. And this was the run to the wire of St. Nicholas Abbey and the youngest jockey to ever conquer the Breeders' Cup, Joseph O'Brien. The reaction from the owners of the Coolmore Group, and there in the shades, a proud father, Aidan O'Brien. What a scene. The final jumps to victory for the 4-year-old colt from Europe. They're still buzzing here at Churchill Downs after the victory in the turf by St. Nicholas Abbey, and the youngest jockey to ever win a Breeders' Cup race, 18-year-old Joseph O'Brien, stealing the show. Let's have Sports Vision help out Jerry to show how this race was won.
Well, we're going to see St. Nicholas Abbey arrowed there right behind Sea Moon, Judmont horse. And I had referenced to Joseph, were you worried at any point that you wouldn't be able to get out? He said, no, not really. And he wasn't. I mean, he just angled it out, clear run. Now, you don't have that much left in the race at this point. But what an acceleration. The amount of horse he saved early, the ground he saved early, all comes and pays dividends right here with the amount of kick that this horse in the last 200 yards.
I've been coming to the Breeders' Cup since I was a kid. Jerry wanted to say you're still a kid.
Which, Jerry, begs the question, give us some perspective among the jockey colony to see an 18-year-old win. I mean, there's guys in that jocks room deep into their 30s, heading towards 40, that never even sniff something like this.
No, you're very right. But we, as a jockey, I sit in the room a lot and saw somebody win on a race because he was on the best horse. I'll go back years, Spectacular Bid, Ron Franklin. You know, he was on a horse that was super, yet he wasn't putting up very good rides. This kid can ride. I mean, he might be tall, but as I said at break, he looks like a lizard on a log, man. He gets down low on a horse for a big guy, and he's in rhythm, and that's what you need to do, be in rhythm.
Familiarity is important, too. In Ballydoyle in Ireland, he works with this horse on a regular basis. So he and the horse have developed a sort of camaraderie, and, you know, sometimes that matters.
Looks like a lizard on a log, but he's got a notch in the belt, including a Breeders' Cup. Let's head down to the winner's circle for the presentation,
where, Joe, there are scenes of unfettered jubilation after victory for St. Nicholas Abbey and Joseph O'Brien in the Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf 2011. From the sponsors, Emirates Airline, I'm joined by Andreas Migatz, who is the Emirates Sales Manager, Central United States of America, to present the prize. You can see, Andrea, it is mayhem in here. You're about to make a lot of people very happy.
On behalf of Emirates and 44,000 people, employees worldwide, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Once again, here in the winner's circle, we're joined by Derek Smith, who is the spokesman for the Coolmore organization today. Derek, you've had great triumphs around the world with so many horses. Where would you put this one? I've never seen such scenes.
Way up there, way up there. And everything about it, we've always had faith in the horse, and he paid it back to us in lorry loads today. That's fantastic for us. And to see Joseph there, and, you know, it's just a day from the gods.
It seemed that you all wanted to embrace the Ballydoyle family in a sense.
Well, exactly. I mean, it just means so much to them. They put so much work into everything, and Joe's had a great time of it this year. A classic winner, and now a Breeders' Cup winner. It's just unbelievable for us.
We mustn't forget the horse, St. Nicholas Abbey, was a champion juvenile off the track, of course, for most of last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he showed all his brilliance today. We always knew it was there, but it just happened.
Derek, many congratulations. Best of luck with So You Think, of course, in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Joe, could this day just get better and better for the Coolmore team?
Yeah, keep in mind that Aidan O'Brien will saddle So You Think in the Breeders' Cup Classic, a much talked about import here to the U.S. Has never hit dirt before, and we will see if it's just one of those special magical days for Aidan O'Brien and Coolmore.